The next method we will use to solve quadratics is called the quadratic formula. Okay, the quadratic formula can be used to solve any quadratic equation. So anytime you're stuck on an equation with degree 2, you can always use the quadratic formula, whereas you cannot always factor the equation. Okay, so the first thing it says if ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, so a is still the coefficient on the x squared, b is the coefficient on the x, and then c is the constant, and it has to equal to 0. Then to find the x value, I plug it into this formula, which is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, the whole thing over 2a. Okay, let's try it. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is identify the a, b, and c. So if I look at this, I will first make sure it equals 0. It does equal 0. It's in standard form. So in this case, a is 5, b is 9, and c is 2, just like in a previous chapter. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and look at the formula and just plug it in. So x equals, and it's a big fraction, so I'm going to make a big fraction also. Okay, the first thing says negative b. Let me see what my b value is. My b value is 9, so negative b means negative 9. There's this plus minus, and there's a big radical, so I'm going to copy the radical. Okay, inside the radical, the first thing is b to the second power. What is b? B is 9. So we're going to do 9 to the second power minus 4 times a times c. So minus 4 times a, what's a? 5 times c. Okay, I'm done with the numerator. Now on the denominator, 2 times a. 2 times what's a? A is 5. Okay, that's the plugging in step. We always use the same formula, so that's always how it starts. And then I have to simplify my answer because I'm not going to leave it like this big mess. Okay, so let me look. The negative 9, I'm just going to leave negative 9. Plus or minus. Okay, then I have a big radical. I'm going to multiply the terms in the radical. So if I do 9 to the second power, that's 9 times 9. 9 times 9 is 81 minus, and then I'm going to multiply 4 times 5 times 2. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 2 is 40. And I'm going to go ahead and multiply the denominator. 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, now I just have to simplify the radical a little bit more. So inside my radical, I have 81 minus 40. 81 minus 40 is 41. And then I still have a big fraction. The fraction line goes all the way across, and I have a 10. Now I need to look at this real quick. Do I know the square root of 41? I don't, so it must be irrational. Now can I simplify the square root of 41? No, I can only think of 1 times 41. So even though this looks kind of like a mess, this is my final answer. And this is actually 2 answers. The first answer is if I did negative 9 plus the square root of 41 and then I divided it by 10. And the other answer is if I did negative 9 minus the square root of 41 divided by 10. But you're welcome to leave both answers in this format. Okay, let's do a few more so you can get the hang of it. Okay, the first step again, identify A, B, and C and make sure it equals to 0. It does equal to 0. So let's see, it's x squared, so A equals 1. B equals positive 3. C equals negative 7. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug it into the same formula. X equals, okay, let me look back at the formula real quick. Can I fit it? Yep. Okay, negative B. What's B? B is 3. So negative B means negative 3 plus minus, and then there's a big square root. Plus minus big square root. Inside the radical, B squared. What is B? 3. 3 squared minus 4 times A times C minus 4 times A, what's A? 1 times C, negative 7. Okay, let me make my fraction longer. And then in the denominator, 2 times A. 2 times what's A? A is 1. Okay, that's the plugging in step. That's probably the trickiest but most important step. Now remember, when I simplify it, I'm going to start off by simplifying anything I can multiply. So the -3 I'm fine with. Let's leave it in the front. Plus, minus, and then inside the radical, 3 to the second power is 3 times 3, so that's 9. Let's see, minus 4 times 1 is 4. Minus 4 times -7 is going to switch this to a plus. And then 4 times 7 is 28. Okay, and then in the denominator, I have 2 times 1, which is 2. Let's take this a little further and then see if we can simplify our radical or not. Okay, 9 plus 28 is 37. The whole thing is over 2. Now let me just look at the radical. Do I know the square root of 37? No, it's irrational. Can I simplify the square root of 37? No, I can't think of anything I multiply to equal to 37. Okay, this represents both of my values of x. Okay, 2 more to practice. I'm just changing your negative signs. Hopefully you're getting used to it. Okay, for C it says 3x to the second minus 7x plus 1 equals 0. It does have to equal 0. It is in standard form, so I can identify A, B, and C. A is 3, B is -7, and C is +1. So I'm going to start with this formula. X equals, okay, the first thing is -b. What is b? B is -7. So if I do -7, it's going to switch it to a +7, just like when we did the vertex formula. Okay, plus or minus, let me make my big radical. Inside the radical is b squared, and make sure you put the b in parentheses, especially when it's negative, minus 4 times a times c, and then it's all over 2 times a, so 2a. Okay, let me simplify this carefully. So that was +7 plus or minus, and then inside the radical, -7 squared is -7 times -7, which will make it a +49. When we square, we always get a positive. Minus 4 times 3 times 1. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 1 is 12. And then in the denominator, 2 times 3 is 6. So 7 plus or minus 49 minus 12 is 37 over 6. Square root of 37 does not simplify, so I'm going to leave it like this. Today, none of them will simplify, but in next class, they will simplify. So I'm still going to get in the habit of checking before I continue. Let's do one more. And again, I'm just playing with the signs. I'm hoping you're getting used to the formula. So this is standard form. It is equal to 0. The A is 5. See, what's B? B is -1. C is -3. And make sure you keep the sign that's just to the left. Okay, the formula is x equals -b. What's b? B is -1. So if I do -1, it turns into +1. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. B is -1. Use parentheses, especially on a negative. Minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Okay, now let me just simplify this. Okay, -1 squared is -1 times -1, which makes it a +1. Minus 4 times 5, minus 20 times -3. Minus times a minus is going to switch this to a plus, and then 20 times 3 is 60. 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, let me add up my radicand. 1 plus 60 is 61 over 10. Do I know the square root of 61? I don't. And again, today we won't simplify the radical, but in the next class we will have some problems where we can simplify the radical.